was your first thoughts whenever Randy asked you to fill in for him while he was gone?
Oh, honestly, it wasn't even thoughts. I even verbalized it to the elders. I said, are you sure you want this up there for 6 months? That was actually my first response. And I was a little bit apprehensive. I just didn't know if it was what our church needed. I just didn't know if it was, especially with Josh coming in brand new, a different type of, leading music. And then with Randy leaving and with me coming in, I was a little worried it might be kind of youth culture shock for our church. So my initial reaction was, I'm not so sure I'm the right guy. I mean, that was straight up. Yeah, a lot of times whenever I'm preaching and teaching, my goal is to take them on the same journey with the material that I went through. And that's what I really try to do whenever I preach. I try to replicate the process I went through, because a lot of the material I wrestle with really deeply with my community. So we all get together and we study it together, and we ask the questions, and we wrestle with all the different nuances, and then I feel like my job then as the teacher or preacher is to say, how can I figure out a way to take you through that exact process? So I usually begin with something that's upsetting, like whether it's a line, or whether it's an illustration, or whatever it is. My goal is to try to get them to feel what I felt the first moment that I came to this text, and it was like like if it was a text that just was scandalous, like the Good Samaritan. I'm sitting there thinking, how can I replicate that feeling that I had when I was trying to apply this? And so a lot of my preaching style, and even what I was trying to do at College Heights, was to say, like for example, the very first sermon, I come out there and I'm thinking, I know what they're going to be thinking. This guy looks ridiculous, and that's why I played on that for the first really 10 minutes of that sermon, was just what happened to Randy, who let this long-haired hippie up here, and because that's what I would have thought if I was sitting in the pews. And so sometimes I try to put myself in their seat, and I'm trying to figure out what they're interacting with in the moment, or I try to get them to sit in my seat whenever I was studying and have them interact with the text the way that I was. Life on life. Even here at Ozark, I don't know how to teach without having my life intersect in meaningful ways with the people that I'm teaching or preaching to. There are events that I have to go to and speak at, that at times I'll get one sermon, one evening, and that's all I get to spend. And I usually feel the worst about those because I don't get to know the people sitting in the audience. But I feel like teaching is always most effective when you're living with the people. And so like students in my classes at Ozark, they come and they hang out in my home for an evening or two to see what I'm like with my family, and to see how my family functions. And then the very first assignment in some of my classes, it's, no, I need to know your story. What's your story? And at College Heights, it was a unique mixture, because I had students out there, I had people I'd known for years, and then I met a lot of new people, and we would go out to lunch and just talk about what they were struggling with, or during decision time they'd come up and be weeping about a certain thing. And I felt like my preaching got more effective, not because I was a better communicator, but because we knew each other better. And I feel like that's the most effective teaching on any level, is whenever it comes out of the life that you share with each other. Because that's how Jesus taught. Jesus, when he's come up with all these parables, he doesn't have like a back pocket of illustrations that he just whips out. He's looking at farmers, and he says, it's like whenever you're sowing seed. And they're going, yeah, that's what we do. And it's like a mustard seed. He may have been looking at an audience of a guy that had been selling mustard seeds earlier. I mean, it's real life. He lives with them and teaches from the outflowing, the flowing out of their lives lived together. And that seems to be always the most effective way of teaching on any level, is just figuring out where your lives come together and teach out of that. I think the one thing I would say to the audience watching this is don't forget we're in a war. We're in a battle, and the decisions that you make or don't make impact the success or failure of your part in this battle. Every day you wake up, you've got to realize you're stepping out into a battlefield. And you have, by the divine gift of God, you have the ability to interact with that battle through the power of the Holy Spirit by picking up your cross. But the moments when you let your guard down is usually the moments whenever you've fallen asleep on a battlefield. So wake up and don't fall asleep.